Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our virtual class. This is for REM 6201, Law on Obligations and Contracts. So I am Professor Maria Romana Daguio, your assigned online learning coordinator for this course. So this week class, we are going to discuss about the essential requisites of contracts. So meaning, kailangan itong mga bagay na to, tatlo ito class, kailangan nasa kontrata, no? Kailangan lamnin ng isang kontrata para masabi natin na merong nangyaring contract. So we have three essential requisites of contract. So with that, let us begin our discussion. So for today's lesson class, this is just a part 1, no? Medyo mahaba kasi ang essential requisites. So hinati ko siya. Part 1 will be Article 1318 up to Article 1333. So next week, we are in part 2 of that. So Article 1318, there is no contract unless the following requisites concur. So we have three: consent, object, and the cause. So sa pagkakaroon ng isang kasunduan, class, kinakailangan na itong tatlo na to ay lamnin ng isang kontrata. So first is the consent. Consent of the contracting parties. Ang dalawang partido ay lubos na nagkakaintindihan. Pangalawang requisite class, object. Object certain which is the subject matter of the contract. So ang pinagkasunduan dapat class ay tiyak at tukoy. And third requisite is the cause. No? Cause of the obligation which is established. So kinakailangan na ang sanhi ng obligasyon ay malinaw na nabuo para sa kinakailangang pagtalima sa kasunduan ng dalawang partido. So just remember class the acronym COC. No? Consent, object, and then the cause. So that is Article 1318. So let us discuss further class about consent. So consent must free and given by someone who is sui juris or one who has the capacity to act. So that is the first consideration class for a consent. It must came from someone, it must be given by someone who has the capacity to act. No? Kaya niyang gawin kung ano yung binibigyan niya ng consent ng kanyang pagpayag. Therefore, it must be freely given by the party and must be an intelligent consent. So that is the second and third consideration class for a consent. It must be freely given, meaning kusang loob mo na ibinigay ang iyong pagpayag, and it must be an intelligent consent. That is the third consideration. Ano ibig sabihin ng intelligent consent? The party must know what he is consenting. Alam niya kung ano yung binibigyan niya ng pagpayag. So again, the three considerations are characters, no? Characteristics of consent. It must be given by someone who has capacity to act. It must be free, and it must be an intelligent consent. If the consent of one party class is not freely given because such consent was obtained through fraud, violence, intimidation, undue influence, we will consider the contract class as voidable. Meaning to say, may bisa naman yung contract class pag nabuo. Kaya lang, pwede nating ipawalang bisa. So this is when it is said that the consent is vitiated. So defective yung naging consent. Merong pagkakamali dahil merong panloloko, no? Merong pananakot, etc. So kaya mo lang naibigay yung iyong consent, pagpayag, kasi ginawa sa'yo ito. So second requisite is the object of a contract. So it must be definite or determinate as to its kind. Sabi natin, tiyak at tukoy. So it must be lawful or it must be within the commands of man. It must likewise be possible and not in any way contrary to good customs, morals, public order, or public policy. So kailangan ang object, ang bagay na napapaloob sa kontrata natin ay lawful, no? In any way, hindi siya magiging contrary, labag sa batas, sa good customs, morals, etc. So we have discussed that in the general provisions of contracts. Third is the cause. In other references class, no, ang cause, ang tawag nila is consideration. So that is the same. So cause or consideration, it must be true and licit. When you say licit, lawful. So a contract with an illicit or unlawful cause produces no effect whatsoever. So yung naging kontrata ninyo, no, ay walang effect. So those are the three essential requisites. Why we have this adjective na essential? Because class, in contract and even in obligation, there are other requisites, no? pwede namang maglagay, sabi nga natin sa contract, pwede namang maglagay ng ibang terms and conditions ang parties, no? Pero itong tatlo na to, ito ang mahahalagang bagay na dapat lamnin ng isang kontrata, essential requisites. Dapat present ito, no? Para masabi natin na merong contract. So Article 1319, consent is manifested by the meeting of the offer and the acceptance upon the thing and the costs which are to constitute the contract. So sa kontrata class, bago yan mabuo, merong offer, merong alok, at merong pagpayag or yung tawag natin acceptance. So the offer must be certain and the acceptance absolute. So kailangan na yung pag-offer natin, yung bagay na ino-offer natin ay klaro. At ang pagtanggap din class ay sigurado din, absolute. No? Hindi po pwedeng, parang tanggap ko naman, hindi pwedeng ganon. Kailangan absolute siya class. So a qualified acceptance constitutes a counter offer. So what is counter offer? So for example, A offered a loaf of bread to B for the amount of 100 pesos. So, kung hindi pumapayag sa term si B, halimbawa sabihin niya, A, can I have the bread for say 80 na lang, 80 pesos? So, ang ginawa ni B na yung class ay tawag natin counter offer, nagbalik siya ng alok. Okay? So, kung nakay A naman yung class, kung i-accept naman niya yung counter offer. So, for as long as meron kayong hindi napagkasunduan doon sa terms or conditions ng contract, you can always have the counter offer. So it's up to the other party to decide whether or not to accept or deny that, okay, or reject that. So acceptance made by letter or telegram does not bind the offerer except from the time it came to his knowledge. So sa A, inalok uli si B ng tinapay. Pero ang pagsagot ni B class, kung tatanggapin niya yung binibenta sa kanya, ay hindi verbal, hindi oral, no? Sinulat niya halimbawa. So hangga't hindi pa nakakarating yung sagot na yon, hindi pa nababasa ni A, no? Hindi binded doon sa offer si A. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Pwede pa niyang i-withdraw yung kanyang offer or pwede pa niyang i-alok class sa iba. So the contract in such a case rather, is presumed to have been entered into in the place where the offer was made. So tandaan, ang lugar ng kontrata class ay kung saan nangyari yung pag-alok, yung offer. So character of the offer, we have 3, certain, definite, and concrete. So we mentioned earlier about acceptance. So this is a manifestation by the offeree of his assent to the terms of the offer. So ito lang yung pagpayag niya doon sa terms and conditions nung alok na binigay sa kanya ni offeror. So again, acceptance class is absolute and not conditional. Wala nang condition. Okay, tatanggapin ko yan, pero wala tayong pero. No more buts, okay? The acceptance made the party to an offer was made binds the offerer only from the time the offerer came to know the acceptance. So, general rule natin dito, class, hindi binded si offeror. Ibig sabihin, pwede pa niyang i-withdraw anytime, pwede niya pang i-offer anytime sa iba yon hanggat hindi pa niya napag-aalaman na yung alok niya kay B ay tinanggap naman na ni B. The moment kasi class na malaman na niya na tinanggap yung kanyang offer, binded na siya, no? Contractually binded na siya. Hindi niya na pwedeng i-alok pa yun sa iba. So the law presumes again that the contract was perfected at the place where the offer was made, the place of origin of the conception of the contract. So perfected ang contract kung saan ginawa ang offer. When you say perfected contract with the power now of the law. Article 1320, the acceptance may be expressed or implied. Acceptance ng offer, ang pagtanggap sa offer class ay maaaring ipahayag, isang hayag, no, na pamamaraan o ipahiwatig. So, pag sinabi mo express acceptance, it can be oral, no, verbal, or written. So, tahasan yan sinabi, okay, bibiling ko yung tinapay na yan sa halagang 100 pesos. So, o kaya written naman, nilagay niya doon, nabasa mo na, okay, binibili ko ang tinapay sa halagang 100 pesos. So that is express, malinaw, maliwanag. So pag sinabing implied, wala siyang ganong mga sinabi or isinulat, pero yung kanya namang actions class ay magsasabi na as if yun ay tinanggap niya. So this is one that is inferred from the act or conduct. So halimbawa, pinatid niya sa kanyang kasambahay yung bayad na 100 pesos doon kay A. So i-assume class ni A na pumayag syempre si B kasi ito na yung bayad. Diba? So that is implied. So those are the two forms class of acceptance of offer. It can be expressed or implied. Article 1321, The person making the offer may fix the time, place, and manner of acceptance, all of which must be complied with. So, ang magtatakda class ng lugar, ng oras, at kung paanong tanggapin ang offer ay yung nag-aalok, the offerer. So, kung tatanggapin nyo ni offeree, if he wish to accept that, no, he must comply with the terms of the offerer. So, let's have an example to that. Andre, the offerer, offers 4 boxes of perfume to Adriel, the offeree. So that Andre gives only 1 day to accept or reject the said offer. So binigyan lang ni Andre si Adriel ng isang araw para mag-decide, bibilin ba niya or hindi yung 4 boxes of perfume. So after a day, Andre did not hear anything from Adriel about the offer he made. So wala siyang narinig kahit ano. So Andre now, class, is free to make the offer to somebody else. So hindi na binded kasi hindi naman tumalima doon sa sinet na terms ni offeror yung offeree in our example sa Adriel. So pwede na ngayon ibenta sa iba ni Andre yun. So hindi po pwedeng pilitin ni Adriel, no, na sa akin mo na ibenta yan, no? Kasi sa akin mo naman unang in-offer yan. Take note of the period. Pag lapse na yung period, ineffective na class ang offer. Article 1322, an offer made through an agent is accepted from the time acceptance is communicated to him. So not all the time, class, transactions are being dealt with the principal person. Ano? Hindi lahat ng pagkakataon yung may-ari o yung pinaka-main na tao ang kausap natin. Minsan, mga ahente lang. So, pag ahente, class, wala naman tayong magiging problema doon for as long as these agents are authorized or duly authorized by the principal. Okay? So, ang alok na ginawa gamit ng ahente ay nangungulugang tanggap na sa oras ng pagtanggap ay ipinabatid sa ahente. So for a contract to arise, the acceptance must be made known to the offeror. So general rule uli natin, class, meron ng kontrata kung napag-alaman na ni offeror na tinanggap yung kanyang alok. Only then, contract will arise. So by legal fiction, no, an agent is considered an extension of the personality of his principal. So, if duly authorized, the act of the agent is in law the act of the principal. That is under Article 1910, Paragraph 1. So, kung ano man magiging kilos, no, ano man kikilusin ni agent, no, as if, class, i-assume ng batas yan, na yun din ang naging act ng kanyang principal dahil siya ay duly authorized. So, Article 1322 applies only if the offer is made through the agent and the acceptance is communicated through him. Hence, there will be no meeting of the minds if the principal himself made the offer and the acceptance is communicated to the agent. So, ganito naman isang scenario, class. Si principal mismo nag-offer, no, ng isang bagay. So, kung hindi mismo sa kanya, no, sinabi or impliedly, no, yung acceptance, no, hindi sumagot expressly or impliedly, sa ibang tao halimbawa, pinadaan. So, there will be no meeting of minds. Pwera na lang, class, kung ang ibang tao na yun, uli, no, ay duly authorized to receive the acceptance. So, bottom line here, there will be no problem, class, for as long as that agent is but an authorized one. No? So, authorized dapat siya. So, that is Article 1322. So let's have an illustration to that. So Kiko Moreno of Makati is a sales agent of Unity Homes Subdivision. So as a sales agent of Unity Homes, he offered to sell a 10-bedroom mansion inside the subdivision to Untoken at a price of 50 million pesos. So Untoken agrees to buy the property for the stipulated price of 50 million pesos. So the said sale, class, is valid even though the acceptance was made with the agent. So why is it valid? Because Kiko Moreno here, class, is an authorized sales agent of the Unity Home. So whatever his dealings or transactions will be, no, that will be recognized by Unity Homes as legal transaction. So valid yung magiging contract of sale, no, between Kiko Moreno and Untoken. Article 1323, an offer becomes ineffective upon the death, civil interdiction, insanity, or insolvency of either party before acceptance is conveyed. In Tagalog, ang alok ay nawawala ng saysay sa pagkamatay, pagbabawal na sibil, pagkasira ng pag-iisip, kawalan ng ibabayad ng partido, bago pa man niya tanggapin ang bagay. So, nag-offer si A kay B, no? Kaya lang, bago pa man matanggap ni A ang pag-oo ni B, halimbawa, namatay na ito, o nasangkot sa isang kaso, kaya nagkaroon ng pagbabawal na sibil. Siyempre, pag nakakulong ka na class, bawal ka na lumabas, bawal ka na makipag-dealings, no? May mga rights ka na hindi mo na ma-exercise. So, tawag natin doon, pagbabawal na sibil. Insanity, pagkasira ng pag-iisip. So, tandaan na isang demented or insane person has no right or cannot give consent class to a contract. Hindi sila pwede, disqualified silang magbigay ng consent. And insolvency. When you say insolvency class, this is the state wherein someone or kahit mapa-businessman yan, no? Pwedeng tao, pwedeng company class, na idineklara ng korte na sila ay wala ng kakayanan pang magbayad ng kanilang utang kasi wala na silang means, wala ng resources. Tawag natin doon, insolvency, insolvent ka na kung tawagin. So, an offer may be withdrawn before it is accepted. So, okay lang class na i-withdraw mo yung iyong offer hanggat hindi pa naman niya ina-accept. Okay? Hindi ka binded doon class. Tandaan, hindi ka binded. Na sinabi mo, ay, nakakahiya na kasi in-offer ko na. So, if that is your point class stand, no? Pwede mong i-maintain ang offer sa kanya. Pero, legally speaking, hanggat hindi pa ina-accept, pwede mo pa yon i-offer sa iba or pwede mo pang i-withdraw yun class. So, after acceptance, eto naman, the contract is already perfected with the force of law now. So, you cannot withdraw that. You cannot offer that to someone else because meron ng acceptance. For as long as wala pang acceptance, again, pwede pang i-withdraw. So, under Article 1323, even if the offer is not withdrawn, its acceptance will not produce a meeting of the minds in the case the other has already become ineffective because of the death, civil interdiction, etc. Okay. So, hindi mo na kailangan i-withdraw pa yung offer kung sakali may nangyari na apat na ito na nabanggit natin kasi automatically class, magiging ineffective na talaga ang offer. So, bukod dito sa apat, death, civil interdiction, insanity, and insolvency, we have other grounds which render offer ineffective. Ano pa yung mga dahilan kung kailan nagiging wala nang saysay yung offer, yung alok? Una class, failure to comply with the condition of the offer as to the time, place, and the manner of payment. Hindi ka sumunod, hindi ka tumalima sa lugar kung saan dapat tanggapin yung offer, no, yung araw, lugar, etc. So that would render the offer ineffective. Ano pa? Expiration of the period fixed in the offer for acceptance. Binigyan lang ni Andre ng isang araw si Adriel mag-decide whether or not to accept or to reject. Wala siyang narinig. So nag-expire na yung araw na yung class, ineffective na yung offer. Pangatlo, the destruction of the thing due before acceptance. Nabasag lahat ng mga perfume. So ano pa iaalok mo? So ineffective na yung offer. So, pang-apat naman class, pinaka-main dito class, ground, no? Rejection. So kung ni-reject na ni B, yung alok mo, ineffective na yung offer. Okay? So halimbawa, sabi ni B, ayaw ko, hindi ko bibilhin yan. So, that very moment, ineffective yung offer. Binenta mo na sa iba. Hindi pwedeng i-compel ni B na, wait, di ba sa akin mo naman una inalok yan? So, nagbago isip ko, bibiling ko na. No, hindi binded dun si A, no? So all these reasons here, class, or grounds here mentioned from Article 1323 and even yung dito sa other grounds, this will render the offer ineffective and prevent the juridical tie from being formed. So tingnan natin, class, halimbawa nung apat na main grounds for ineffectivity of the offer. So death. Princess offered to sell her beach resort to Sarah for the amount of 2.5 million pesos before the day that they are going to meet up for the payment and their contract will be made, Princess died. Therefore, the meeting of the minds of the two parties became ineffective because of the death of Princess. Namatay ang isang partido, natural, sino pang magiging kakontrata mo? So, that would be ground for ineffectivity of the offer. Civil interdiction. In the preceding illustration, supposing that Princess was sentenced for life imprisonment because she was found guilty in murder case and there is no acceptance had been conveyed by Sarah before the sale. Therefore, the offer made by Princess became ineffective because her sentence carried with civil interdiction. So yung pagkakakulong class ni Princess ay may kasamang pagbabawal na civil interdiction. So hindi lahat ng karapatan natin, alam naman natin yan, common knowledge, na pagka ikaw ay isang bilanggo na, nawawala na yung mga civil rights mo. So insanity. Same as the above illustration, if Princess became insane before Sarah accepted her offer, no, nasiraan ng tamang pag-iisip class, the offer, no, the contract became ineffective because an insane person cannot give consent to a contract. So I mentioned this earlier. Ang isang may problema sa pag-iisip class ay hindi pwedeng magbigay ng kanyang consent. They are one of those people who are disqualified to give consent. Insolvency. Also, if Princess was declared by the court as an insolvent person due to her inability or lack of means to pay one's debt, before Sarah accepted the offer, therefore, the meeting of the minds of the parties is not valid because of the insolvency of the offerer. So those are the main grounds class for ineffectivity of the offer. So debt, civil interdiction, insanity, and insolvency. Article 1324, when the offerer has allowed the offeree a certain period to accept, the offer may be withdrawn at any time before acceptance by communicating such withdrawal, except when the option is founded upon a consideration as something paid or promised. So, kahit pa class, binigyan ni offerer ng period, no? Stipulated period para mag-decide si offeree kung tatanggapin niya or hindi. So, within that period, pwedeng i-withdraw, no, ni offerer ang kanyang alok. Basta lang, syempre, i-communicate niya yung kanyang withdrawal kay offeree. Okay. But, may mga instances, class, wherein hindi mo na pwedeng bawiin yung alok mo, yung offer mo kay B. Kailan yung pagkakataon na yon? Kung merong paid consideration, class. Ibig sabihin, in return ng pagpayag mo, pagbibigay mo ng period na makapag-isip si B, meron naman siyang ibinigay din sa iyo na konsiderasyon o something, no? Para payagan mo siya. So, with that, hindi mo na pwede pang i-alok sa iba or i-withdraw pa yung offer. Okay? So, iintayin mo talaga na matapos yung period na yon at makapag-decide siya whether or not, no, siya ay pumapayag or nire-reject niya yung offer. So, actually, lugi nga dun si B-class. Halimbawa, di ba, binigyan natin siya ng 1 week to decide. Paid consideration, ibig sabihin, may something siyang binigay sa atin para lang payagan natin siya mag-isip. The moment na nag-reject siya, hindi na niya syempre makukuha yung kung ano man yung binigay niya sa atin. No? Pero, magiging pabor naman yung kung sakali na ang decision niya ay to accept. So this article pertains to an offer made to a particular person and the offer is given a specific period within which to accept the offer. Under this article, an offer may be withdrawn even if the offeree was given a period within which to accept, except the offeree has paid a consideration to support the action. So let's have an illustration to that. Anne offers her 2 hectares land to Richard for 1 million pesos. Richard, however, cannot make up his mind yet as he has to conduct or consult his wife and request for the time. So, hindi siya makapag-decide si Richard kasi tatanungin pa niya yung kanyang asawa. So, Anne is not under obligation to keep the offer open. She could offer it to someone else. So, kahit pa may certain period na ibinigay si Anne kay Richard para mag-decide, hindi nangangahulugan class na obligado na si Anne na i-keep yung offer kay Richard lang. Pwede niya to i-alok sa iba. However, if Richard would like Anne to keep the offer open, ibig sabihin sa kanya lang i-alok, ano pwedeng gawin ni Richard? So Richard may propose to Anne the so-called option contract. Under the option contract, Anne would keep the offer open to Richard for a specified period. Richard, however, must pay Anne consideration to keep the offer open. So may konsiderasyon din na ibinigay si Richard kay Anne para panatilihin na bukas yung offer sa kanya. So since Anne is contractually bound to keep the offer open to Richard or for Richard, she cannot make the offer to anyone. Article 1325. Unless it appears otherwise, business advertisements or things for sale are not definite offers. but mere invitations to make an offer. Tandaan lang class, gaya nito, halimbawa natin, may makita kayong ads in tri-media, halimbawa, TV, radio, marinig nyo, mabasa nyo sa print, no? Those are merely invitations. Ibig sabihin, paanyaya lang para magkaroon ng offer. Pero hindi pa talaga yun offer class, yung mga advertisements, no? Hinikayat kayong bumili, hindi po yun offer. Kasi tandaan nyo, ang offer dapat class ay specific, no? Specific intended kanino. Ang ads kasi class, general ang sakop nun, general public. So, wala kang specific na tao na intention mo na alukan. Okay? So, kung sino lang may gusto, sila ang gagawa ng offer. So, that's why ads are not considered definite offers. So, in relation to that, Article 1326, advertisements for bidders are simply invitations as well to make proposals. And the advertiser is not bound to accept the highest or lowest bidder unless the contrary appears. So most advertisements class are simply invitations to make an offer and are not offers in themselves since not all the necessary terms can fit in the advertisement. Limited lang ang airing time nila. So hindi lahat ng kailangan na malaman ni buyer, no, ay nandun sa ads. So kahit pa, sige, given, lahat nandun na class. It's still an invitation to make offer since there is no definite person to whom the offer is being made. So sabi ko nga, general ang paanyaya nila, wala talagang definite na tao na intended nilang pag-offeran. So that's why it is just an invitation and not an offer. Article 1327, the following cannot give consent to a contract. So ito yung mga disqualified na magbigay ng kanilang consent. Unemancipated minors, no? Individuals below 18, insane, or demented persons, and also deaf mutes who do not know how to write. So mga minors, mga taong may sakit sa pag-iisip, at mga pipi at bingi na hindi marunong magsulat. So kung pipi at bingi class na marunong namang magsulat, then they can give their consent. Ang bawal lang ay yung hindi marunong magsulat. So unemancipated minors class, those are minors below 18 years of age. Okay? So there are no more unemancipated minors above 18 since the legal age was reduced from 21 to 18. Emancipated by marriage and parental concession had already been eliminated. Children below 18, tandaan, no, being minors cannot enter into valid contract. So kung pumasok man sila class sa kontrata, no, ang effect ng class ay magiging voidable yung contract. So pangalawa, insane or demented person. So when person is insane or demented, he is detached from reality. Wala siya sa tamang katinuan. He does not know what he is doing. He cannot act with legal effects. Consequently, he cannot enter into valid contracts. But there are times, class, but very rare cases, birang-birang mangyari, na bumabalik sila, no, sa kanilang tamang pag-iisip. Tawag natin doon, class, lucid intervals. So, during lucid intervals class, no, kung ano man yung kontrata na pinasok nila, we will consider that valid, no? For they are sane and capable of knowing what they are doing during the lucid intervals. We just need to prove that okay sila nung panahon na yon, no? Sane and capable of knowing what they are doing. Deaf mutes. So not all deaf mutes are disqualified to give consent to contracts. Only those who do not know how to write are disqualified. So effects, again, the contracts entered into by incapacitated persons enumerated in the law are not void. Hindi naman sa walang bisa. Ito lang class ay voidable, no? Kung isang party cannot give his consent. Ano ba yung voidable? Again, nung ginawa ang contract, valid. Pero pwede nating ipawalang bisa. Kung nalaman natin na ang kakontrata mo pala, yung nagbigay ng consent, ay isang insane person. Okay? So, pwedeng ipa-void. Pero kung dalawang partido class, si A at si B, ay parehong incapacitated to give consent, ang tawag naman natin sa contract na yun ay unenforceable contract. That is under Article 1407. Next, Article 1328. Contracts entered into during a lucid interval are valid. So, lahat ng kasunduan na ginawa habang nasa tamang pag-iisip class ay may bisa. Contracts agreed to in a state of drunkenness or during a hypnotic spell are voidable. Ang mga kasunduan na sinang-ayunan habang nasa kalasingan o pagkagayuma ay maaring ipawalang bisa. May bisa pa din, class, ha? May bisa. Kaya nga tinatawag ipawalang bisa. Kasi sa kasalukuyan, no, may bisa. So, Article 1328 of the New Civil Code speaks of effects of lucid interval, drunkenness, and hypnotic spell. Again, what is lucid interval? So, this is temporary period of sanity. Pansamantalang pagkakaroon ng mainam or tamang pag-iisip. So, that period when a person who is generally of unsound mind experience a clear understanding of things. Bigla na lang naging malinaw ang pag-intindi, pag-unawa niya. So, lucid interval ang tawag doon. So, a contract entered into by an insane or demented person during lucid interval is valid. So, drunkenness and hypnotic spell impair the capacity of a person to give intelligent consent. So, sabi natin kanina, one of the considerations for a consent, it must be an intelligent one. Okay, so how can you give an intelligent consent kung ikaw ay lasing? So, an otherwise capacitated individual who enters into a contract while he is in the state of drunkenness makes a contract voidable. Pwede nating ipawalang bisa. Since, at this precise moment, he is not in full possession of his mental faculties. So, hindi siya makapagbigay ng intelligent consent kasi lasing siya. Dalawa lang yan klase. Ang tao pag lasing, alam niyo naman, masyadong masaya, masyadong malungkot. May mga umiiyak sa sobrang saya, may mga umiiyak din sa sobrang lungkot. No? He who is under hypnotic spell, no, nagayuma, is said to be in varying degrees under control and direction of the hypnotist. So, pwede din ipa-void class ang contract. Halimbawa, kiniklaim na Arturo class na napirmahan lang niya yung deed of sale ng property niya na yun dahil siya ay lasing. So, however, for drunkenness to be ground of voidability, he must prove that it was such as to interfere with the normal functioning of his rational faculties. So, dapat patunayan class ni Arturo na dahil sa kalasingan niya ay hindi nag-function na maigi ang kanyang pag-iisip. So, Article 1329, the incapacity declared in Article 1327 is subject to the modifications determined by law and is understood to be without prejudice to special disqualifications established in the law. So, ibig sabihin, bukod dun sa tatlo kanina na disqualified na magbigay ng kanilang consent, meron din iba pang disqualifications class, no? Let's jump to that. Persons enumerated in Article 1491 due to fiduciary relationship or due to public policy. No? Sila yung disqualified din na magbigay ng consent. Pangalawa, husband and wife cannot enter into contract of donation, sale, or lease with each other because they are not allowed to donate, sell, or lease properties to one another. So this includes those who live as husband and wife without the benefit of marriage. So, ang mag-asawa hindi po pwedeng pumasok sa kontrata ng donasyon, pagbebenta, or pagrenta. Bakit? Alam naman nating class na during the marriage, all the properties you acquired are all considered to be conjugal. So, bawal silang pumasok sa kontrata. So, we will be ending in 1 minute. Kindly join na lang para sa few more remaining slides natin. Anyways, 4 na articles na lang tayo. I'll be waiting for you or you wait for me, class. I'll be back. Thank you.